In this video, we will read and hear the English translation of the final part of a monologue by Roberto Benigni entitled Peter, a Man in the Wind, delivered in the Vatican Gardens and broadcast on Italy's Rai 1 on December 10, 2025. The program was watched by nearly 4 million viewers in Italy on the evening of its broadcast, confirming once again Benigni's extraordinary ability to bring culture, faith, and storytelling to a wide audience. Benigni is not only a profound and knowledgeable storyteller, but also a master of wit and narrative vitality. One of the strengths of this monologue lies precisely in its tone. It enables viewers to approach the figure of St. Peter in a way that is engaging, accessible, and at times light in touch, without ever trivializing the depth of the subject. In the final section of the show, Benigni reflects on the last phase of Peter's life, focusing on the events following his arrest in Rome. The Gospels tell us nothing about this period. However, a number of extra-biblical sources allow us to imagine what may have happened to Peter during his final days in the Eternal City. While it is not possible to offer a precise historical reconstruction, these scattered traditions provide a framework within which such a story can be told. As we will see, Benigni weaves a beautiful and moving narrative drawn from early Christian tradition, apocryphal texts, later hagiography, and theological reflection. Throughout this video, I will point out the sources that stand behind the episodes that Benigni evokes, showing where they come from and how they have shaped Christian memory. We shall see that the precise historicity of every detail cannot be established with certainty. But the aim here is not modern historiography. What matters most is the message of the story, one that I believe is faithful to the heart of the Christian tradition and to the figure of Peter himself. We will now watch the final part of Benigni's monologue on St. Peter, in which he describes Peter's last days in Rome before his death. On the screen you will also see my comments. In particular, I will provide a scene-by-scene identification of the sources behind the episodes Benigni presents. Where applicable, I will indicate the exact biblical passages, and where scripture is silent, I will point to specific non-biblical texts or traditions. I believe that in this way we can learn more about St. Peter in a way that is also entertaining, because, as you will see, Benigni is truly captivating.
One day it's Peter's turn, and they arrest him. They take him to the Roman Forum, in the Mamertine prison. You all know it. It was the most infamous prison in the Roman Empire, a kind of Alcatraz. Now, in such place there is a church, another footprint of Peter. And the prison has not disappeared. It is still there. You can still visit it. Think about it. It's there under the church. Oh, I went there to visit it. You can't know how I felt. The feeling, oh my goodness, one incredible thing, an intense emotion. You need to visit this place. It is amazing. You just need to go down the stairs. There is a room underneath. There is dark, like in a cave. This is where they kept the prisoners. But not any prisoners. They keep there those prisoners who were considered dangerous for the empire, political prisoners, those who could pose a threat to authority. You should know that this is the same prison where Julius Caesar, 100 years before, had locked up Vercingetorix, the leaders of the Gallic tribes. And Julius Caesar had Vercingetorix strangled there. And there, at the Mamertine prison, one day also Peter arrives. They hand him over to the prison guards, who put him in chains, and they lock him in this dark room. These jailers are two guards called Martyrdom and Patristics. Now you will tell me, but who are they? Do you know the names of these two prison guards? Yeah. You won't believe it. They become two saints. They are in the calendar. Listen to this. I'll tell you how the story went. When Peter arrives in the Mamertine prison, Martyrdom and Patristics take him over and they start to mistreat him. They insult him. They torture him. They despise him. This is because Peter was a Christian, or rather more, the leader of the Christians. And then, while they push him, pull him, insult him, hit him, eventually Peter falls to the ground and he hits his head on a stone, a big stone. And here the legend says that when Peter gets up, the two prison guards remain speechless. because they cannot believe what they see. They can see an imprint on the stone showing the mark of the head of Peter, as if the stone were not a stone, but a pillow. And in fact, Peter didn't hurt himself. In fact, his very well, it is the stone that got damaged. This story is amazing. And if you go to visit the Mamertine prison, such stone is still there and you can see it with the mark, the imprint of Peter's head. This is incredible and something emotional. But the story doesn't end here. The two prison guards, Martyrdom and patristics, are astonished. They look at each other. They ask themselves, but what happened? Who is this Peter? They can't understand this. And in the days which follow, they start to speak with Peter to try to understand. Who is this mysterious man who made such prodigy? They are amazed by the serenity, by the sweetness with which Peter speaks to them. Peter does not scold them. He treats them with respect. They listen to him for days, until both of them feel something inside. The same thing that happened to Peter and to many others when they spoke with Jesus. They got transformed. They are invaded, like possessed by a sweet and mysterious force. Always the same force, the peace and love of Christ. They change, and in the end they convert and they ask for baptism. So, they become Christians in prison. But try to imagine the scene. Two prison guards, two torturers, who in this dark, damp, horrendous cave, kneel down and receive the baptism by St. Peter. But it would take an artist, a Caravaggio, to imagine a similar scene. I'm not saying for painting this episode, even just to imagine it. And now, for them, Peter has become immense, very great, the greatest man, the most important in the world. And they have fear for Peter, not for them, because they know something that Peter doesn't know. For Peter, we're talking not only of prison, but of execution, of death. Thus, they then warn him. They tell him, you need to escape. You have to save yourself. They insist. They undo his chains. They open the prison and let him escape. Peter needs to go, because if he remains in Rome, his destiny will be to end up in his crucifixion. The two prison guards, Martyrdom and patristics, remain, and they will pay. They will pay this with their lives for having released Peter. They will pay this with martyrdom, and today they are counted among the martyrs of the Church, among the holy saints, Martyrdom and patristics. This is a beautiful story. That's why we know the names of these two prison guards. What wonderful story. And Peter, well, Peter runs away. So he leaves the Mamertine prison and leaves the city. He takes the Appian way. Perhaps he wants to go to Brindisi and embark in a ship, to go back home, in Palestine. Imagine this Peter who runs away, who must leave his community, a growing community, to which he has become affectionately attached. He must leave, for example, those young women who believe in him, women whom, driven by the strength of his faith and his words, little by little converted to the Christian faith, at the risk of everything and of their husbands, masters, lovers. They chose to leave these men who put to risk their lives in order to become Christian disciples. Peter lives this internal struggle, but he gets away from Rome. He is a few miles from the city when something happens. An extraordinary fact. A fact that, let me tell you, maybe it's the most beautiful moment of the whole history of Peter. While Peter is walking on the Appian Way, now almost at the crossroads with the Ardeatan Way, Peter sees someone who comes towards him from afar. It's a strange figure that advances slowly. At first, Peter struggles to recognize this figure. It seems to him that this figure which is approaching him has something familiar, but he doesn't know, he doesn't understand what he is seeing. He tries to see better. He needs to squint his eyes a little to focus. It's a man. He is a man bent under the weight of a burden that seems like a cross. Yes, it's a cross. A man comes towards him dragging a cross. But how is that possible? Who is he? Just a few more steps. And Peter, who actually already understood, recognized him. It is him. Indeed, it is him. It's Jesus. Yes, Peter cannot have any doubts. He cannot make mistakes. It is his teacher who comes towards him. He recognizes that face. Every feature of this man is familiar to him. His hair, his mouth, his eyes. Then he stops, shocked, overwhelmed. We can imagine the emotion that invades Peter. At first, he can't speak. He can only look at him, convincing himself that he is right in front of his Lord, of his Jesus. And when he can speak again, he asks him the simplest thing that perhaps anyone in his place would have asked. Domini, quo vadis? Which means, Lord, where are you going? And Jesus replies, I'm going to Rome to be crucified again. Peter insists, stammers. Peter asks, Lord, so will you be crucified again? Jesus answers, Yes, Peter, I will be crucified again. Jesus does not add anything else and continues on the Appian way towards the gates of Rome. More than 30 years passed since when Peter saw Jesus for the last time, when he appeared to him after his death on the shore of the lake. He is the man who has changed his life forever, the man from whom everything began. And whatever that irresistible force is that a long time ago took him away from his home, from his family, and threw him into that impossible adventure, such crazy situation. Peter in fact ended up in Rome, among foreign and hostile people. Such irresistible force comes from there, from that figure, from Jesus, that now Peter sees moving away from him, going towards the city. Whatever the nature of the wind that kidnapped Peter on that day on the shore of the Sea of Galilee, and that then never stopped pushing him for land and sea to the heart of the empire, such wind had its origin from that thin, suffering, tortured body of Jesus. From that look, from that piercing gaze, that Peter never knew how to probe completely. Like clear water. Yes, but too deep. I believe that in that hour of anguish, of solitude, Peter had an immensely desperate need to see him in front of himself once again. When we love someone who we have lost, we would like to have back so much that person so that we could sometimes see them, hear their voice, then we can really feel their presence. And now Peter sees Jesus. He is in front of him. He could stretch out his hand. He could even touch him, and then, at that moment, something miraculous happens. A miracle. A miracle. Yes, the last one, but not like the ones we are used to see in the gospel. Rather, something simpler and together something bigger. Peter makes a discovery. What does Peter discover in the Appian way? Peter discovers for the first time how much he loved that man, despite everything and of all. Through all trials to which Jesus subjected him, the dangers, the humiliations he had to endure, the hardships he asked of him to endure, and all new things, incomprehensible things which he was asked to understand. He understands that before meeting him, he had never loved in such way, that he didn't even know what love was. And now he knows it. He finally understood it. He finally learnt this. And it was Jesus who taught him with his words, with his example. He taught him to love. And the moment he understands this, he understands also, finally, what is that force which brought Peter there in Rome as a wind, an irresistible wind that blows ever more forcefully. It's the simplest and at the same time the biggest thing, the easiest thing to say, and it is the most difficult thing to understand. Love. Yes, love was this thing. Love, this mysterious force that overwhelmed him that day in Galilee. While with his brother Andrew, he was cleaning the fishing net. This love is the stranger who approached him and spoke to him. This is what it was. This was the strength that had supported him, while Peter walked above the water of the lake of Galilee, for those few unforgettable moments. Lord, if it is you, tell me to come towards you. It was that strength and that woman, whom was losing blood, and whom, making her way among the crowd, had managed to touch the edge of Jesus' cloak to be healed. Remember what Jesus said. I feel that a force has come out of me. I feel such strength again, mysterious without a name. And it was the same force that held the disciples glued to Jesus to protect him from the crowd, and that pushed the people who surrounded him. Yes, and that shocking episode, when Jesus, the Master, the Lord, bowed before Peter and started washing his feet. What was he telling him? What was that, if not this love? Love me as I love you. Love anyone else in the same way. This is how it is done. Look how simple it is. And then the look, the piercing gaze that Jesus gave to Peter when Peter had turned in the priest's courtyard, when Peter for the third time had denied knowing Jesus. Let us recall the moment in which Peter denied Jesus. Now, that's what was such look, such piercing gaze that still burned inside Peter's conscience. It was a look, a piercing gaze of love, of an overwhelming love. It is as if Jesus is saying to Peter, I am with you even if you deny me, because you deny me. And all those parables, those strange stories that Peter sometimes did not understand, that even today we do not understand and that perhaps no one will be able to fully understand. Those sweet words and also calm words, incandescent, like when a heated filament produces a bright light. Always unexpected, never heard before. They only wanted to say this: love one another. This was the message, the mystery. Love each other. Nothing but this. And that's all, and this feeling which Peter now feels as something as an immensity, this love that has been revealed to Peter. Now Jesus asks Peter for the last sacrifice. Jesus asks him to follow him till the end. Why? Because love wants everything. Love wants everything, and for a moment Peter feels lost, suspended, on the edge of an abyss. Suddenly, he realizes that the destiny that Jesus offers is an abyss of love, of humble love, of which we cannot see the depth, and it seems to Peter that he is finally ready to surrender himself completely, abandoning himself to Jesus' love, to sink into that mysterious ocean of love which extension and depth have never been measured by no one, except by the eyes of Jesus. Those eyes that a little while ago they looked at him for the last time. And then, only then, he feels an unstoppable desire to surrender himself into this love with the entirety of his existence. And Peter does this. He does it. He turns back and walks. He returns to Rome, where he voluntarily accepts to be captured, and he is executed. It happens here. Here, where we are here. The cross rises here where we are. But it is not a cross like that of Jesus. Peter asks to be crucified, upside down, with a cross inverted upside down. Many have wondered why Peter took this choice. Perhaps because he did not consider himself worthy of dying like his master. We'll never know. And now, I know I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't say it, because this too is impossible. We can't know this. But it seems to me that I can hear Peter's thoughts, what was going through his mind, while he was hanging from the cross, the last thought of the fisherman, whom, from over there, from a small village far, from Galilee, he had come here, to Rome, to meet his destiny. It is a thought that is a question. Jesus asks him, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me? And Peter's answer, yes, Lord, I love you.